Meribe was Akpanma's first child, while Ifedimma was her second. It was just the two of them before their father passed on. The widow kept farming to make ends meet. Akpanma would always go around the village during the rainy season asking people to give her farming contracts, and they would pay her after 7 days. Akpanma would always carry her two children, Meribe and Ifedimma, along with her so they could help with making the ridges and cultivating. Meribe was 9 years old and Ifedimma was 7 at the time. The children were very helpful and always assisted their mother. Akpanma sometimes sold fruits in season and swept rich people's compounds to raise the children. Meribe and Ifedimma would always sell vegetable from their farm after attending afternoon classes. Jonah, Akpanma's brother-in-law, started making life difficult for his brother's family because Akpanma did not have a male child. Jonah had 2 boys, and his wife Wadi could not have any other children after the 2 boys, Obi and Odialo. The boys were older than Akpanma's children. Since the death of Obimma, Jonah, his elder brother, had refused to let his family be. His plan was to take the landed property since Obimma did not have any male child. Akpanma, being a respectful woman, would never disobey her brother-in-law. So, she moved to the tenant apartment owned by her late husband. Meribe and Ifedimma were not happy, but they had no other option. Since moving down to the tenant apartment, Akpanma and her children had to deal with strangers from different places living in the compound. Meribe and her younger sister, Ifedimma, would always comfort and console their mother, assuring her that everything would be fine. Akpanma and her children would fry akara in the morning until 12 p.m. Then after that, the children will go for afternoon classes. Meribe and Ifedimma attended afternoon classes when other children would be going back home. One Thursday afternoon, Akpanma was in the farm while Ifedimma brought food to her in the farm as usual, and that was after school. They would go to school by 12:30 p.m., dismissing by 3 p.m., have their lunch, wash their school uniforms, and then join their mother in the farm. That Thursday afternoon, while they took their mother's lunch to her, they forgot to carry drinking water along with the food. But because their farmland was not too far from their house, Akpanma sent Meribe to go and get the water. Meribe entered their one-room apartment to get a bottle of drinking water for their mother, but she came out looking for the slippers she had left on the floor. Door footmat. She searched everywhere for her only slippers but could not find them. She had to wear her school sandals to the farm. Akpanma was not happy that Meribe lost her only slippers. What could she do? 4 days after, the slippers went missing. 4 days after the slippers went missing, Akpanma, out of her poor financial state, bought new slippers for Meribe, who had been wearing her school sandals everywhere. Akpanma warned Meribe not to wear the slippers if she eventually found them. Meribe was happy when her mother bought new slippers for her, even though it was not as fancy as the missing one. 1 week of the slippers being missing, Akpanma was in the farm with Ifedimma, while Meribe was packing firewood into the house. Meribe saw her lovely missing slippers right at the doorstep, at the spot where she had left them before they went missing. Meribe quickly went there and took the slippers. She removed the slippers she was wearing, put on the found slippers, and ran to the farm to tell her mother about the slippers, forgetting her mother's warning. Akpanma was not happy when she saw the slippers on Meribe's feet. Akpanma quickly shredded the slippers into pieces. Meribe left to continue with her firewood. After some days, Meribe fell sick. Akpanma thought it was a mere sickness. She took her to different places, but the sickness kept deteriorating and prolonging into months and years. They stopped school at the primary stage because they could not further their education due to financial problems. Ifedimma had to start looking after her elder and only sister, Meribe, who had been bedridden for years. While Akpanma would go to the farm alone and fry akara alone, Ifedimma would do the house chores as well as feeding and taking care of Meribe. None of the family members ever asked or checked up on them. Akpanma carried this burden alone. 6 years later, Akpanma fell sick. Akpanma's sickness made her go blind, and all hope of her regaining her sight was gone. Ifedimma became the only hope of the family. She would wake up, clean her sister Meribe, and do the same for her mother Akpanma. She cooked and fed them both, did all the house chores, and then went hawking akara in the street. At the time, Ifedimma was only 16 years old and handled suffering that were bigger than her. After her sales, she would run to the market and buy foodstuffs that they did not have at home or on their farm. She would come home, prepare their lunch, feed them, and continue with the unending house chores. Ifedimma informed her uncle and the family about their condition, but Uncle Jonah sent her away. Uncle Jonah sold everything belonging to their father and did not give them a penny or try to help them. Few days after Ifedimma turned 17, she went to make her usual daily sales and was sexually assaulted by a young man of 23 who asked her to come into the house to sell akara to him. Ifedimma cried all day. She went home devastated. Akpanma and Meribe could not help the situation. They wept and consoled her. Ifedimma stopped hawking and started selling the akara in front of their house. She continued until she gave birth. She gave birth at home with the help of a local midwife. Ifedimma brought a friend's younger sister, Ngozi, to assist her in looking after the baby while doing the chores, cleaning her family members, selling akara, and cooking. Ngozi would sit beside the baby and watch him sleep. She would call Ifedimma when the baby wakes up and cries. They named the baby Esomchi, which means I follow God. They fondly called him Som, a handsome baby boy. Ngozi would always return to her mother every evening after helping Ifedimma from morning till evening. She would go to school and come back to Ifedimma in order to assist her. This continued until Esom turned 3. 4 years later, Akpanma joined her ancestors. After grieving, she was buried. Uncle Jonah sent them out of the house. Ifedimma took the bedridden Meribe and her son Esom to an abandoned, uncompleted building in the same village, even though it was a 45-minute walk from their father's house. Ifedimma would fry akara in front of the abandoned, uncompleted building and was making some money from her akara business. One day, a good Samaritan gave her a contract to come and sweep her house because the woman and her family resided in the city and only comes back once every year to the village. The woman, Barrister Sylvia Kume, employed Ifedimma and gave them 2 rooms in the boys' quarter of the mansion. Barrister Sylvia allowed Ifedimma to sell provisions in front of the house, even though she paid her very well. Barrister Sylvia took Meribe to the hospital and they tried everything they could. But Meribe's condition had already made her bedridden for life. Meribe could not stand on her feet or walk again, even though she had recovered. Barrister Sylvia bought her 2 new wheelchairs, and Esom or Ifedimma would always help move her around. This help from Barrister eased some burden off Ifedimma's shoulder. At least Esomchi would help push Meribe around, and Meribe could push herself around at times, allowing Ifedimma to focus on taking care of other things and sweeping Kume's mansion. Esom would also assist in selling provisions for his mother. This continued. 2 years later, the curious Esom urged his mother Ifedimma to tell him the history of the family and who his father was. Ifedimma opened up to him and narrated everything. Ifedimma also took him to their father's house and showed him everything. Uncle Jonah and his wife had gone to the land of the spirit as at the time. Ifedimma also took Esom to the house of the man who impregnated her many years ago. But the man, who was already married, chased them out of the house, rejecting Esom. Esom continued assisting Ifedimma in selling provision, while Ifedimma would go to the village biggest market, Orahia, to buy goods, which they usually retail in their shop. Meribe also assisted from her wheelchair. At least she could wash her clothes, and Esom would help her hang them. Meanwhile, Ifedimma would cook and sell their provision. 4 months later, Ifedimma, who went to Orahia market to buy provisions, lost her life in an accident. Esom and Meribe wept bitterly and later buried Ifedimma. Esom took over the care of Kume's mansion, while Meribe would sell the provisions, with Esom joining her after sweeping the compound. Esom was not happy about his aunt's condition. Why would she be in a wheelchair for life? And what exactly happened with the slippers? Curious Esom embarked on a journey to find out what happened and how to fix the problem, because Meribe was his only living family as far as he's concerned. His father had rejected him, and Uncle Jonah's children never wanted anything to do with him, always referring him as a bastard. That Saturday morning, Esom woke up and completed all his necessary chores. They don't sell on Saturdays, so it was easier for him. He cooked and presented food for Meribe on the table. Esom lied to Meribe, telling her that he wanted to go and buy some things for the house. Esom left at 12 p.m. that Saturday noon, and by 4 p.m. he had not returned to Meribe. Esom visited a seer, Toroto, who told him everything. Toroto revealed how Meribe's slippers were used for ritual purposes, which caused her condition. Esom mentioned that Grandma shredded the slippers, but Toroto explained that the evil person brought a replica of the slippers, not the original one used for the ritual. But the replica was to complete the mission. The evildoer was Uncle Jonah, who was revealed to have known that Meribe would grow up to challenge and recover all her father's property. So he crippled her to pin her down and also to get richer. When Esom asked about his grandma's blindness and its cause, Toroto told him that the same man was responsible. Toroto also explained that if Meribe had not worn the slippers, the ritual would have backfired. Esom was determined to find a solution to get his aunt back to her feet, even though her legs were paralyzed. Toroto told him that Uncle Jonah's children had taken over from their father and that they had a mysterious pot buried in front of their compound beside a mango tree that bore no fruit. Knowing the mango tree in question, Esom decided to go and uproot the pot and break it. Eventually, he knew it would not be easy. Meanwhile, Meribe was weeping while waiting for Esom to come and assist her in bringing in the clothes he had washed earlier because it was about to rain. Meribe had waited for almost an hour, but there was no sign of Esom. That particular day, her condition really affected her. Meribe wept bitterly, sitting on her wheelchair. She propelled herself to the toilet to defecate, but unfortunately fell, hitting her head on the wall and becoming unconscious. No one could help her, and she lay there for another 2 hours. Esom returned home only to find Meribe unconscious on the toilet floor. He ran out to get the attention of a passerby, but it was too late by the time a tricycle arrived to take her to the hospital. Meribe was confirmed dead upon arrival at the hospital. Devastated, Esom ran out of the hospital and was hit by oncoming car, dying instantly.